Helen, can you hear me there? Okay, thank you very much. Um, as you can see, I'm sitting in my home. I'm in Melbourne. And Melbourne is still, the CBD's still got tumbleweeds down it, so hopefully people will return back to work soon. Look, 3D Oil was started by myself. I'm the founder and the largest shareholder. I believe that 3D Oil is very unique in terms of a small cap oil company on the ASX. Our positions in the offshore verging on world-class portfolio, I believe, and we'll see that. Last year, we completed a farm-out deal with ConocoPhillips, one of the largest oil companies in the world, on our Tasmanian permit. The deal consisted of basically an upfront fee, undertaking seismic this year at actually about 2,700 square kilometres, and then the option to drill a well, carries on a well, which would probably be next year if they did decide to do that. That transaction was probably the best farm out transaction in the oil and gas sector in Australia for about 15 years. Other highlights, we recently acquired a new permit in Gippsland. It was going under the radar, Vic P74. We're in there with our partners, Hibiscus. It's next to the Kingfish oil field, which is the largest oil field in Australia. We also have a permit adjacent Dorado in WA. We picked this permit up prior to Dorado being drilled. If you don't know anything about Dorado, it's the largest oil discovery in Australia in about 30 years. So we picked the permit up prior to Dorado being drilled. We like the look of it, and Dorado has come in better than anyone has expected. I'll talk a bit about our strategy going forward, but the ConocoPhillips deal, I think, really underpins our strategy and validates it. Our assets are quality, and we like to really play where the big boys go and basically look to get funded through exploration and drilling. Over the next slide. So I quickly just give you a corporate snapshot. Look, obviously share price, market cap, no one could be happy with that, but there's a few numbers there I'm very happy with. We've been on the market since 2007. We still only have 265 million shares on issue. We've only had one capital raise in 13 years. We basically fund ourselves from doing industry deals, and 28%, the top 20 shareholders control about 58% of the stock. So it's very tightly held. Next slide. So looking at our portfolio here, starting off in WA, we have WA 527. It's a really large unexplored block with frontier opportunity adjacent to Dorado. It's very exciting, and there's a lot of activity happening next door to us. As we speak, Santos is shooting seismic right up to our border. They will be drilling 2 exploration wells this year adjacent to us at Apis and Pavo, and also they're moving forward with the Dorado development in feed at the moment. So that's pretty exciting, and we're obviously talking to a number of parties at the moment. In T49P, another exciting permit, arguably the last place on the east coast to find large gas, in my opinion. We acquired this permit in 2012. Beach actually farmed in, and then jumped out a few years later after paying for seismic. We've actually made money on this permit to date, so that's quite unique. So Conoco will be shooting seismic 2,700 kilometres this year. We've contracted a vessel last week, and we're waiting for our AEP to go forward. There's high probability that they will undertake a drilling of a well next year. It's very exciting. This is sort of a frontier area, but yet it's close to facilities, and we'll talk a bit more about that. Vic P74, as I said, it's a recent acquisition. We recently came out with a prospective resource, and we've identified about 1.3 TCF of gas, about 144 million barrels of oil. As I said, this is adjacent to the largest oil field in Australia and been overlooked. Next slide, please. So our strategy is possibly not unique, but the execution is not always that easy. Basically, we try to go into areas offshore. We work only offshore. identify areas with a big story, get in early with low bids, enhance the value organically, and then basically monetize by doing farm out deals. And as I said, we've only raised $3 million in 13 years, so we've been doing this well. The downside is we only work in the space of majors. So the majors can be a bit slow to move, but so you have to be patient. But you know, as you can see with the deal with Conoco, it was worth the wait. So it probably took a year from go to woe to get that deal across the line. And we'll be looking to do that in our other permits as well. And we are in discussions with parties on other permits. So look, just basically what we're trying to do is basically get people to put our bets on, and we don't pay for them. Next slide, please. So looking at this strategy, we've obviously implemented it in T49P very well. Vic P74, we only acquired the block in 2019 for a very low bid. We've added significant value to date, and look, we're in discussions with parties. There's been an ASX release the last few months going forward on that one. 527 again, we picked it up incredibly cheap. I mean, the last bid round after Dorado, the bid levels are $50 to $100 million bids. We picked it up for a very small bid, and now we're sitting on a block that's the only available acreage in that Dorado area now. Moving on to the next slide. So just to give you the background to our Conoco deal, which was completed last year, we got an upfront fee of $5 million for back costs. They will fully fund the seismic in the Otway this year. That was at the time of the deal estimated at $15 million. It's probably going to be over $20 million now. And they will also fund the first $45 million of an exploration well in T49P if they decide to proceed. Look, we've already got a prospect identified from the beach-funded survey we did a few years ago called Flanagan. That's a 1.3 TCF prospect already, and we know Conoco like that. And you know, our belief is they will move forward to drilling. So yeah, pretty exciting stuff. So moving to the next slide. All right, so T49P was when we picked it up, virtually unexplored, but it was located adjacent to the largest gas field in the Otway, Thylacine and Geograph. But for some reason, the industry didn't think to look further. We went down and had a look at this and really staggered by the prospectivity. The structures were like large, and they had the elements that I've observed in my career that have significant potential of gas. It's very exciting, and you know, obviously Conoco saw what we saw when we showed them, and I'm very surprised. We currently have a prospective resource of about 10 TCF. Obviously, shooting seismic will shrink that; it always does. But a TCF of gas down here has an NPV of about $1 billion post-tax. So, look, if one of these things works, a few will work, and like the tie-in potential is, they're very exciting and reduces the capital cost going forward. But there also is ullage down there. We've got 3 operators down there for tie-in options as well. But it all depends if we make a discovery and how big it is, what we'll do. Going forward to the next slide, please. So look, this is just a simplified cross-section showing our permit, where our prospects are. I mean, we're relatively close to Thylacine, and Flanagan next door. As I said, that is a prospect identified on 3D already with a 1.3 TCF P50. What we really like the most, and same with Conoco, I believe, is a really large structure in the southern part of the permit called Seal Rocks. And it seems to have all the geological elements that are necessary for significant gas. So we'll be shooting seismic over that, and it's pretty exciting. We'll be seeing the results of that later this year. Yeah, can't wait. Next slide, please. So we have 2 permits in Gippsland. We're in both of those with our partner Hibiscus, the Malaysian company. We recently acquired Vic P74, which is directly located, I mean, the Kingfish field almost is touching the permit boundary. This block had largely been overlooked for a long time, but there's been a tremendous increase in in seismic processing and reprocessing, a significant uplift. And we're seeing in the basin where CGG have reprocessed data and acquired new data, the uplift is staggering. Now, this spot here is in a lovely sweet spot. And as I said, the drilling done there was done a long time ago, largely on very poor data. And I've worked this area with my previous time at BHP, and I was always keen to pick this area up. Again, we are talking to parties. We see significant gas potential here. I think we're carrying a resource of about 1.3 TCF at the moment, prospective resource. And it's located in a great location to access the East Coast gas market as well. The next slide, please. I love this slide. It's a new slide. It just shows the reservoir, the channeling system in the Bedout sub-basin. We can see the Dorado field there. That was a discovery about 2 years back, 162 million barrels. So the blocks next to us are Santos and Carnarvon. Santos are currently shooting seismic right up to our border at the moment and planning also to drill these 2 wells, Apis and I've just got the other one now. Anyway, so that's a lot of activity going on there. As I said, we have it 100%. We'll be looking to shoot seismic probably early next year. Again, we're in discussions with a number of parties. We have a host of prospects there. It just needs good 3D. And it is the last place in this basin. I mean, this basin is truly amazing. I mean, 20 years ago, it would have been the talk of the world. It's not often you uncover a new, really rich basin these days. And I mean, this is a significant basin, and to have 100% of like 4,000 square kilometers is pretty amazing. Moving on to the next slide. Oh yeah, just wanted to show you that the Dorado discovery is quite unique, really. It's what we call a strat trap, and in Australia, there's not a lot of large strat traps around, but it is significant. It relies on this channeling, which we see also in our permit. The other thing we also see in our permit is what are called HRDZs. Just to cut a long story short, they're actually, when hydrocarbons leak, they disturb the seismic signal, and we can see them around the Dorado area. We see them in our area too, because the largest risk is probably charge of hydrocarbons. These are giving us a strong, warm feeling. We do have migration into our block. Yeah, so look, it's exciting too. As I said, completely unexplored. Just as an interesting sideline, that Caudron well was drilled by BHP in the mid-70s. It was the very first well BHP ever drilled or operated offshore. They just missed Dorado, literally. And often people say, "Oh, that well really killed that basin." So that well killed that basin for years. They only missed by like a kilometre or so. I even believe the well is not even in the right location of where they wanted to drill it. So just as an interesting sideline. Moving on to the next slide. So just looking forward to the activity we're coming up. We've obviously got seismic later this year with the mapping and processing of that, and hopefully we'll be seeing a well coming up next year. We know that Conoco are putting out RFI, looking for rigs at the moment. Vic P74, we're still building our portfolio and are in discussions. And this permit has been really, we've been chased on this rather than the other way around, quite surprisingly. East Coast gas is still a big story going forward. I think with the closure of the coal-fired power stations, the backup has got to be gas, really has to be. WA, again, we're talking to parties there, and we're looking to shoot seismic this year. A lot of activity adjacent to us this year with seismic and 2 wells and the Dorado development going forward. So a lot of activity around us and within our permits coming up. And I think that's it.
Thanks, Noel. Great presentation. An interesting spot you're in, and good timing. Now, what are these major oil companies thinking? What are their objectives with Eastern Australian gas? You've mentioned Esso deciding not to sell their Bass Strait assets, and then you were talking about ConocoPhillips, your JV partner. What are they thinking about this spot?
Well, it's interesting. ConocoPhillips actually came to us to look at our WA block, and then we said, "Why are you here? Why don't you look at our Tassie block?" And they go, "Oh, okay." And look, we've had all the majors in on our Tassie block. I mean, all the majors are kicking the dirt down here. The Conoco put the first offer in. What SO are doing, who knows what they're doing, but you know, it changes there all the time. But they're staying in the basin. I believe that the offers they had didn't really cover the decommissioning down there. They do have some significant potential down there, but really the lights on no one's home there. So if you ask me,
and just finally, there's a question here: how quickly can you farm out the Vic P74 next to Kingfish, as well as in WA 527 next to Dorado?
well, look, as I said, we're in discussions with parties, and we've stated that in ASX releases. You know, I can't say how long it takes. As I said previously, when you're dealing with majors, we're on their timeframes. It takes a while, but I'm very confident we'll get a deal on 74 and 50 and the WA block. You know, in the short to medium term, we are in discussions. And look, they're good permits, they're quality permits, and we want to get quality deals across the line. So.
And just finally, can we finish on you don't make a lot of noise in the market. You haven't raised a lot of capital. What is the upside for potential new investors?
Well, look, we're rolling a few dice at the moment, and we only need one to come in. And as I said, we're very tightly held. We don't have a lot of shares in the market, and the potential to go up. As I said before, like a TCF of gas in the Otway has an NPV post-tax of about $1 billion. We only need a small discovery there to really see our market cap, you know, go up tenfold.